If you were looking for a summer book rec, you came to the right place because I'm about to show you all of my summer book recs. There's like 15 in this video. I also put in a picture of the sun so, you know, we could really feel like we're in the summer vibes are here right now. That's what I'm saying. And I'm wearing a linen shirt. So starting off with like one that's a pretty obvious summer choice, People We Meet on Vacation. The thing about this book too though is that it doesn't all take place on the beach. Like when you look at it, I feel like it seems like it all takes place on this like one vacation, but it's actually a bunch of vacations on the Second Chance Romance where they're like friends and there's a bunch of flashbacks to these like yearly vacations that they take. Something happens and they're like not close anymore, but she wants to go on like a vacation with him because she just like wants to rekindle the friendship. On his part, it's kind of like how he's seeing it. It's like an unrequited sort of thing, but I think in the beginning, she's just actually in denial. You see their relationship grow from meeting in college to just going on these yearly vacations, and they actually are from the same hometown, so they first really get to know each other on a drive back. Like he gives her a ride to their hometown, and then yeah, you see them build these friendships and have like all these cool stories with strangers and stuff on these vacations that they go on, and it's definitely like a friends to lovers. It's not a sad book or anything, but there are definitely like some moments, just like the right amount, that makes a book very like interesting. This is my personal favorite, I think, of any of the Emily Henry books that I've read. I just really love this one, and it has a special place in my heart. I feel like all of Emily Henry's books could be like vacation or beach read books. Speaking of, this is one of the first ever like official romance books I've ever read, Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this would be a good one to read during the summer too. And this one also, the cover, they're not like on the beach the whole time, but it is like she goes to like a lake house and she's a writer and he's a writer, but they knew each other in the past, but they were like not enemies, but a little bit like academic rivals vibes. This one is a bit more heavy in my opinion than People We Meet on Vacation, and it's really good. This is like the one where I hear most people saying this is like their favorite Emily Henry book. It's also very emotional. I definitely cried like at the end of it for sure. And in Emily Henry books, there's always something more going on. Like it's not just the romance, because she's going to this house that her dad used to live in. Her dad died, so it's like dealing with grief. And then Gus, the guy in this, also has like gone through some things, and they're both kind of just like sorting through stuff while writing, while working together. She starts bringing him on dates to write like a rom-com book. He starts bringing her on these little dates. So they're both trying to like write in the other person's genre, and they're not like officially dates, but they basically are, and they end up being like dates anyways because they end up falling in love, and it's very cute and heartfelt. All of Emily Henry books, like, they stir the heartstrings up. It Happened One Summer has got to be one of my favorite books with summer in the title of it. I just really think this one was like nothing I ever read before when I read it, and there's still nothing that I've read that's like just like this exact vibe of it. It's funny, steamy, cute, sappy, everything that you could really ask for. The main guy, like love interest in it, is a crab fisher. I'm pretty sure it's crab fisher. If you've ever watched Schitt's Creek, I think that definitely is. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it is. What Piper, the girl in this, is based off of, and she's so funny to this like fisherman dude. She seems like kind of ridiculous, but then, you know, it's that trope, you know, grumpy sunshine. By the Book is a recent read for me, and I actually didn't know this was gonna have the summer vibes that it had going into it, but they went on like cute little surfing dates, and this girl who works in publishing in New York, and she's going down to California to try and talk to this really difficult author that is like what's the word? He's a client of their publishing company, and he's writing a memoir. He's like not getting anything out to them, not responding to them, so she personally goes down to try to get him to write this book, and then she ends up staying there, and they both end up like writing together. It's just like healing and like a breath of fresh air for both of them, it seems like, and it's just a beautiful like soft and fluffy romance, and it's very happy and light for the summer. And again, it just has those summer vibes. Like they do summer activities, and I feel like it just transports me into where they are when I'm reading it. Like I really feel like I'm there with them. So yeah, I recommend this one. That's good. Better Than the Movies is a great summer book. It's a YA romance. I just thought this was so cute, and it really did feel like a rom-com. I don't even know like if it took place in the summer, but it just had those vibes, and I even feel like the cover and stuff just looks like summery. So this girl is like rivals with her neighbor, and then she has a crush on this guy who comes back to move into the neighborhood who she knew when she was little, and she had like a big crush on him when she was little, and like all of them, those neighbors like used to hang out. Now they're older, and that neighbor has come back, and she's like, okay, I want him. So she convinces and asks that neighbor to help her get the guy who has just come back into town, and so they kind of like work together to help her get the guy, but of course things don't go as planned, and she realizes that who she wants has changed, and it's just like a really fun funny. It like there were some parts where I actually did laugh out loud. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is just one of my favorite books ever. The second chance romance. One of the things that I feel like makes this so good is how vulnerable and like open especially like the dude characters in this, and there's like some darker things that happen, but to me it didn't feel like one of those books that was like really heavy. Although I did cry, I'm pretty sure, but like in a good way. Like all the feels were good. It's also Childhood Friends to Lovers. Elliot and Macy would spend summers together growing up because she would go to like her house in Napa where Elliot was, and they would both like hang out and became besties, but then they also like fell in love, and then they stopped talking for like 10 years I think, and then he finally sees her in a coffee shop and she sees him. It's one of those books where like there was never really gonna be anything like anyone else for them in their future. You know, you really like feel that reading it. Like it really brings you into that mindset, and I believed it, and it was so, ooh, like I just felt so much. Like if you want to feel things, you should definitely read this because it was like feeling so much in a really good way, and I just love it so much. My feet are starting to feel like there's ants crawling on them. The Worst Best Man. I feel like this is such a fun one to read during the summer. I'm not even sure if there's specifically any like summer like weather related things in it, but it's just, I just get summer vibes from this book, and I just think it's so funny. It's this wedding planner who got stood up at the altar, and it's a romance between her and then the guy who stood her up's brother. They're like forced to work together, and they tease each other and play, I guess, like pranks, but it's also like she actually is salty. If you're in the mood for like a really light and cute read that's also really funny, then I'd recommend this one. I'm literally sitting so weird right now. Like I'm squatting and just like my elbows are resting on my knees right now because my feet like started to fall asleep because I was sitting on my feet. But anyway, Water Under the Bridge. This one instantly makes me think of summer. I just think of like summer nights when I think about this book. These are both like very hardworking, driven people. Like if you want to read about two like very ambitious go-getters who are kind of like don't really allow themselves much romance in their life, but then they find each other. Him, it's kind of like instantly he's like, I love you. Not really, like I don't know if it's like I love you instantly, but he's like really wants her instantly. She thinks that he like hates her or something. There's kind of a miscommunication to where she thinks that like he specifically didn't hire her for like a certain reason or whatever. She ends up not working with him after like an audition at their company, and she thinks it's because of him, but it's actually not. So it's kind of a miscommunication that like drags on a little bit in the story, not in like a dragging way, but like that's the thing that's making her think like, oh, he doesn't like me. And so she has kind of a little bit of a grudge against him, but then they end up having to work together. So yeah, it's like an enemies to lovers, and it's really fun. Definitely a slow burn. So if you're looking for like a slow burn and all those other things that I said, this one is perfect. The Summer of Broken Rules. And this one, okay, think romance at like a wedding venue like weekend that's in Martha's Vineyard. And then also think of Giant Game of Assassin that's taking place. Two people from different sides of the wedding party team up so that they can help each other like know the different people on each side of the wedding party, and then they end up falling in love. And of course like them laying out by the water, and I don't know, like it's just very 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 summer. It even has summer in the title. So it wasn't like the most intense romance or like romance that made me feel something. It was just like a vibe. Like it was a scenic vibe with a cute romance and Taylor Swift references, and it was what it was, and I liked it. The banter too was one of my favorite parts of it because it was just so playful, and I just like had fun reading it. You know when you're just like really vibing with the banter. Some mistakes were made. I will never stop recommending this book to people because I just want everyone to read it. I love it so much. It's a YA romance. This is like a coming of age, childhood, friends to lovers, and then there's like something that separates them, so it's a second chance too, but they only are not with each other for like a year, and it feels like very wronged by what happened, and so they're definitely like not on good terms when she comes back, but she's like really close with his family, so it's kind of awkward, and then just like kind of conflicts happen that push them together and apart, and it's like emotional roller coaster. This book really did it for me. I recommend like 1000%. It gives like coming of age fun memories and like summer night memories as well, and I don't even know if there are like a lot of summer nights that take place during this, but that's just like, that's the vibes that it gives me. Also, he's standing on like a dock in this, so I feel like that emphasizes the point. 7 Days in June. This is definitely a deeper, like darker romance, but the fact that it says 7 Days in June, like how could I not recommend it? I mean, June is in the summer, so just makes sense. But yeah, as far as like, because when I think of summer, I a little bit think of like not too like dark and deep of like romances that like really kind of hurt to read, like actually hurt, but this one does hurt. But at the same time, it's It's just like such a beautiful second chance romance. For 7 days when they're in high school, they really like make this bond with each other. They both have went through so much that you just like, it makes it believable how close they got, because it's just like the stuff that they went through is absolutely insane, and they really like found someone in each other. But something happens and then he's like basically nowhere to be found. She feels like super betrayed. She doesn't see him for like 15 years. They don't see each other, and they're both authors, and they've been like writing about each other, and they know they've been writing about each other because they've been reading each other's works. And then he comes to like a writer's event and she's there as well, and she's like, well, what the heck? But he just like came back and starts talking to her again. She's obviously very closed off after everything that happens, but then she starts slowly like opening up to him. I would definitely recommend this, but just keep in mind when you're going into it that like look up trigger warnings, because there's definitely a lot of things in it that were pretty hard to read about. And yeah, they're just like, it was very heavy, but it also had like funny parts, really cute parts, steamy parts. The Infinity Between Us, this is like a childhood friends to lovers. I really like childhood friends to lovers. I just love how there's so much history and chemistry, and how, I don't know, it's just like these people reconnecting after years and coming back together. I just think that's so cute. This one's like not one of my favorites, but if you want the summer vibes and you want that type of story, this is a really good one because it has both those things. And it was still really good. It just wasn't one that like specifically stands out to me compared to all the other ones that I've read. The main characters in this and like the love interests with each other, their families always get together at this beach house, and they kind of like grew up knowing each other and being friends. So it flashes back and forth between them like becoming friends and becoming more, not actually, no, they're already friends, but like them becoming more than friends. And then it goes to currently where they haven't spoken in years and they're just seeing each other again at this beach house. She's trying to sell it, but since they both like, it's not all the way owned by her, they have to come to like some sort of agreement. He doesn't want to sell it, so she's giving him a month to try and convince her not to sell it. And throughout that, like their story continues, and they start off like her really wanting nothing to do with him. You kind of see like what they've been through since they haven't seen each other and how that's affected them in their lives. It goes back and forth between that and current time, and I thought this was a really great read. There's definitely some cute beach scenes too. There's like one where like both the families are there at night, and it just seems like such a cool memory to make, and I just love those scenes in books because I'm like, wow, I want that. That's such a fun thing. Every Summer After is the same sort of thing, to where it's like a childhood friends to lovers where something happens and they don't talk to each other in years, and then they see each other again. In this instance, they were like neighbors at this lake house. It goes back and forth between showing them becoming, or like coming together when they're younger, like their love story when they're younger. So it goes back and forth between showing their love story when they were younger and then her now, and it doesn't tell you like all these books do until later on what happened, but it shows her like living in the city. And it kind of like the last book I talked about, she kind of is in a rut in life, and a little bit has to do with like everything that went down and the way that she kind of ran away from her problems a little bit and never fully got over things. And she's finally coming back to that house, like to the town, because of the funeral of the guy's mom. It's like an emotional, moving read, and it also takes place at a lake, so it has those summer vibes too, but it's not like so heavy to where it's like I can't honestly remember if I cried reading this. I don't think I did. Archer's Voice, this is another one that's definitely like heavier, deals with some heavier topics. Sorry, I'm like so short in the frame because I don't want to sit on my legs anymore. I need to like change where I film because this is just not working. So a bunch of things happen to this girl that are like kind of traumatizing. So she goes to this small town. She starts working like a cafe in the small town. There's this guy that everyone kind of avoids, and she's like, why are you like, who is this guy? And then everyone says like he's kind of weird, like he never talks, whatever. And then the story ends up showing how he never talks because of like an incident that happened that like ruined his throat, and he just can't talk anymore. He just hasn't had many opportunities to connect with people, but he just like lives on his own and does everything himself, and he's just like really lonely like of a person. So she comes into town and she starts trying to like become friends with him because they have a couple incidents where they like run into each other, and she's trying to basically just become his friend. She knows sign language, so they have that way of communicating. She's really looking for an escape in this small town, and she kind of like comes in and becomes like a light for the guy in this. At first he's like, what are you doing? Like he doesn't really want people in his life like that, but then like she kind of like makes it happen. They start hanging out, they become friends, and they like start helping each other out just like by being there, I guess, and then they become closer and closer, and it's really such a sweet romance. This is also one of those books that throws like 5,000 twists there at the end, and you're just like on the edge of your seat, like not okay, but then you finish it and you're like, that was amazing, that was so good, I'm glad I read it. Okay, last up, Say You Swear. I wasn't sure if I should recommend this one, but then I was like, a lot of the other ones are like this too, to where I'm like, it's not always like at the beach or anything, so I'm like, is it a summer one? But it is. And this one, they're even at the beach sometimes, so I feel like it really works. It just goes through like literally like such a long time. Basically, you have this group of friends that's really close. They all like own this beach house together. It's a college sports romance, by the way. The main character, she's like a twin brother. It's like his friends were also her friends, and then one of her girlfriends too. She has been like in love with one of her guy friends for like a while, but then she also goes to college with them. They're all like going to the same college and see each other a lot, and then this guy starts like kind of making himself known to her, and then she gets to know him, and he's like amazing, and his name is Noah in it. The other guy's name is Chase. So she has like this whole romance with Noah, which is an emotional roller coaster. Like, he is seriously so awesome, but like, oh my god, the stuff that happens, I'm like, wow, these characters go through a lot. Just, they go through so much. But then there's like all this drama with Chase, and she's kind of trying to like figure out what's going on with like her heart, you know. She's trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, and her journey to getting there, to like getting to the realization, is a long one. Like, it's just so much happens. I can't emphasize that enough. But yeah, I really like this book. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I really liked it. I think the things that I didn't like, I've said this before in like a video where I did like a reading vlog, I just thought her brother and his friends were kind of overbearing, which like they're in a lot of the book because they're all really good friends, but I also really loved how close they all were. I found myself not being able to stop reading it, so I would definitely recommend it. I think that it does have some of those summer vibes sprinkled in, so that's why I felt like it would be good for this video. And that's also, this is the last book that I'm recommending, so that is all for my summer book racks. I hope you liked this video, enjoyed watching it, maybe got some ideas for the books that you want to read in the summer. Make sure to like this video if you liked it, and then subscribe to my channel. I also make book content on Goodreads, Instagram, and TikTok, and it's all Farrah's books if you want to check those out. I'll have them linked below too, and yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.